What's up, guys? It's your boy T Wit, and we're going to talk about something that a lot of people ask me about, and that's bicep training. I don't know why people ask me. I don't have very good biceps, but uh, people still ask me about how to train your biceps and this type of stuff. And the main questions I get is, how do I make my peak better, or how do I make my bicep longer, or how do I make it more of a peak and longer? How do I make it just bigger? All that stuff. And the one thing I need to talk about is the fact that people are not understanding the way that muscles grow and the way that they're inserted into the body and stuff like that. So when you're training biceps and you have a peak on your arm, that is because that is how you're genetically created. That's how your muscle is inserted into the body. It is shorter, most likely. It is shorter, and you have a bigger peak because that's what you were genetically given. Or it's much longer. You have no peak, much more round, and it's just a longer bicep. So when you hit like a double bicep shot, you don't have a space in between. You don't have this space right there. Now I have the space. Now, see, I don't know how, I have a weird bicep. I have the space there, but I don't have a great peak. It's just the way my body, my genetics are. Now, I can't make my peak better. My biceps are going to grow the way that they're going to grow. I can work both heads of the bicep, right? I can work the outer and the inner. And there are certain ways to do that. If you're doing dumbbells and you want to work the outer, you bring your shoulders back, you put your elbows behind your body, and you come out, right? And you work the outer head, you supinate. If you work the inner, you bring your elbows forward, not too much to where you're using your shoulder. Bring your elbows forward and you come up right to the chest, and so you hit the inner part. If you're doing a straight bar, you can do outer or inner, that type of thing. So you can work both heads, and that will give the bicep. That will just make the bicep bigger. But you're never going to be like, if you are genetically created to have long biceps, that's where it inserts. It inserts from the shoulder all the way to the elbow. That's how they're going to grow. They're just going to grow. Your biceps going to grow this way towards you and out, and probably up still just a little bit, but not like you're not going to go from a Phil Heath bicep to a Kai Green bicep, right? You notice the difference. Kai Green has this giant peak, and Philly has this really long football-looking bicep. And that's just because they're genetically created that way. Kai Green will never have a long bicep. Everybody always would be like, Kai, you need to train your bicep to be longer. You need to train your bicep that way. And if you watch Kai Green train, the way people say you can train your bicep to make it longer, he would be doing that. He does a full stretch and a full contraction. But because of the way his biceps grow, and the way they're inserted is the reason he has a peak like that. Same thing with Phil Heath. Phil Heath could do, this really short range of motion forever, right? Working on his peak, and his peak wouldn't get any better. His bicep would just grow. Whatever head he was targeting, or would grow. It's not like it's gonna grow up. You know what I mean? You cannot change the insertion of your muscle, and you cannot change the way that muscle is going to grow. Same way, like, I remember when Arnold, if you read his encyclopedia, he would talk about how he wanted to, train his lats to have a lower insertion. He wanted lower lat insertion. Never happened. His lat insertion never changed. It was the same his entire career. His lats just got bigger, and so they might have hung more. So they might have had a bigger, shadow effect. They might have, that type of thing. His lats never moved down. Kai Green's always had lats that go all the way down to his trunks. Phil Heath will always have his lower back erectors and then his lat insertion. He has pretty low lat insertion. Dennis Wolf will always have really, really high lat insertion and will never have lats that look like Kai's or Phil's, ever. That's just how it is. Same thing with Sean Roden, all those guys. They're all created in a certain way. The insertion of the muscle will never change. You cannot train a certain way to change it. It's like you cannot train your chest to be inserted a different way, or to be shaped different. It's going to be shaped the way it is. You know, you can't work the inner part of your chest to make your chest fuller in the middle. You can't work the outer part of your chest to make your chest wider. It's just not going to work. You know, and people are going to disagree with me on that, but it's true. I mean, no matter, when you're working your chest, you can work two heads, your upper and your lower. That's it. So when you work your chest, the way it's going to grow, the way you stretch that muscle, the way you squeeze it, just because you squeeze it, because you do more like this, you know, doesn't mean you're going to get a bigger middle chest, you know, because if that was true, you see the guys that just do the short range, they would just have a tiny little chest here. They would just have a tiny little narrow chest like this, and they wouldn't, you know, they would never have, but they have the outer pec, because the outer pec is part of the upper and part of the lower. You're going to work the muscle, and it's going to grow the way it's inserted and the way it is created. You cannot change the shape of any muscle. Can't happen. You know, maybe synthol or the PMMA or whatever, the injections that all these guys do, that'll change the shape of the muscle because it's fake. It's just something, you're putting something into the muscle to make it bigger. You might change the shape of it there. You look at Rich Piana's arm now versus the way it was way back when. You know, the shape is different. That's because he used synthol. You know, Boston Lloyd, same thing. You know, his arm shape has changed. You know, but the fact of the matter is you can't change the shape of the muscle by just training. It's not going to happen. You just have to focus on hitting the heads of the muscle, hitting it in a certain way, and growing that muscle, because that's the only, you know, if I want to have a better chest, I can't just work on the outer or the inner. I have to work on the upper and the lower. That's how it works, because those are the only two heads of the chest. As my upper gets bigger, when I train my upper chest and I do incline, you know, I'm going to stretch the chest and squeeze the chest. So my upper chest is going to grow on the outer and the inner. That's how it works. This is how you grow muscle. You cannot change the shape of a muscle, because that is how it was created, guys. It's frustrating because so many people come up to me and say, hey, if I just do this, you know, well, my bicep, well, I have a longer bicep, I have a shorter bicep. You know, if I do this, well, I'm going to have an outer, you know, and everybody goes by this, you know, I'm going to train the outer chest and the inner chest, the upper and the lower. There's not four muscles there. I'm going to trade my peak or the length of my bicep. You can't. You can train two heads of the bicep, and that's it. I'm going to make my tricep thicker. You can do that, but you can't, like, make it insert lower. You know, I have two different shapes. I have two different tricep insertions. One is a little bit higher, one's a little bit lower. Can't change that. That's how it is. So that's all I'm saying, guys. Just understand how the body works. Understand what muscles do what and where they're inserted. And the fact that you can't change the shape of it. If you get beyond the idea of the shape of the muscle, well then, you know, you'll actually be more focused on growing the muscle, and you're actually probably put on more muscle than focusing on changing the shape. This is how it is. So that's it, guys. A little bit of a rant for you. T-Flex Fitness on YouTube. Go ahead and follow me on Instagram at tflex_bodybuilding. Hit the subscribe button. Tell your friends and you know, other people to subscribe. Like the video. Comment below what you guys think. What other videos you want to see me do. Yeah. Go train. Train for size. Don't train for shape, because you can't train for shape. Your shape is gonna happen on its own. See you guys.